Good evening, all of you. How are you doing? Hi, everyone. So, as usual, tell me how you've been. I hope you're doing great. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Ooh, Haq Nawaz has left a lot of fires in the comments, which everybody living up north needs right now because it's very, very cold. Hi, Janvi, Sneha, Nikesh, Ishart, Aditi, Sadia, Sneha, Sukhjot. Hello, all of you, and welcome to your session. Please let me know if you can see me, you can hear me. I'll see a lot of you saying fine. So I believe I'm audible and visible to all of you. And I'm very excited for today's session because I have a soft spot for poetry. So waiting to get started. And all of you pay attention, you have a Menti quiz after this. And I'm waiting to see who will be the champion of poetry for term 2. So by the end of this session, we'll give our going to be Menti quiz winner a name. So all of you have to come up with a title for whoever wins the Menti quiz, okay? So I will ask you at the end what that title should be. Okay, so there we are. And we're going to do poems today. You know what poems. We have Amanda, Animals, and the Tale of Custard the Dragon. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe so you're updated and you get to know whatever is happening. Don't miss out on anything. Okay, so poetry, like I said, I have a soft spot for poetry. So I'm very excited. But I know what you must be thinking. I see Divya saying that I love poetry. So same pinch, Divya, I love poetry too. I think it's very, very beautiful. It's a beautiful way to express through the limitations of language. So when you limit language, your ability to express actually opens up. And that sounds like an oxymoron, which we will learn about today, where you limit something and it becomes and it expands. But that's sort of what happens with poetry. So the best of your emotions tend to come out when you're limited by a structure. And so you must be thinking that, oh no, so many literary devices, they have such complicated names. Some names sound like diseases. So how are we going to do this? So don't worry, the names are a little long and complicated, but once you see examples, I think it will all be very easy and clear for you. So don't you worry about that. And let's just get started. Today, what are we going to do? We're going to understand the central idea of what the poem is trying to express. Okay, then we are going to do a brief analysis of the poem where we are simply going to analyze the kind of things that the poet has incorporated to get their point across. And then we are going to see how literary devices help in getting the point across and how different literary devices can be used for different reasons and how you can easily spot them. Okay? Bharat is asking me who my favorite poet is. That's a very tough question, so I'll get back to it later because I can't just name one poet. That's very difficult for me to do. But we'll see. Let's think about it. One of my favorite poets, his poetry is going to come up in your syllabus today, so we'll check that out as well. So let's get started first with Amanda. And a lot of you at this age probably relate to this poem because there are a lot of adults around you constantly telling you what to do and what not to do, and you must be thinking, oh, why am I constantly being told how to live my life? Which is a big teenage problem. We've all been through it and you'll get over it, you'll be fine, nothing will happen. So this poem sort of gives you and your age group an outlet that you're not alone. If you feel troubled or tortured in any sense, everybody goes through the same. And so that relatability will help you get past this sort of difficult time. It's a challenging time. Teenage is a challenging time. So Sneha can relate to this poem and that's great. And so today I want all of you to share your thoughts and opinion with me because that's what poetry is about. Poetry is not just studying for an exam. Poetry is studying life. Okay, so this will go on throughout your life. So I want you to share your thoughts, your opinions, what you feel about this certain poem, if you like it, if it works for you, if it doesn't work for you. I want you to share your opinions with me, okay? All right. Let's get started. Charvi has given me a list of a lot of literary devices and it looks like a very scary list, Charvi. Why are you trying to scare all of us? So here, let's first look at the central idea, okay? So the central idea of is freedom to be oneself and societal and parental expectations. So like I said, at this age, you also must be feeling that, you know, everybody is constantly expecting a lot of things from you. They suddenly want you to grow up and be, you know, a proper person. When you're a child, you're doing a bunch of things and nobody really cares. Okay, they say how cute. But if you start doing the same things now, people are going to judge you. And for that, your parents might be a little concerned, your teachers might be concerned, and they're constantly telling you to behave in a certain proper way. And that, if it goes overboard, can become very annoying and irritating for you. You might even feel sort of suffocated that why am I being constantly told what to do. So that is the central idea of the poem, Amanda. Okay? And so now let's quickly look at how the poet has put this point across. So here you will see zoop, a lot of literary devices. We will come to that and we will see which literary device is coming where. But before that, let's read this. Okay, let's read this part first. It says, don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. Okay, so what does this sound like? This sounds like somebody is giving Amanda orders. And we can assume that it's probably a parent. Okay, it's a parent of Amanda giving a lot of orders. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Okay, and so what happens when you're constantly, you know, if you feel like you're constantly being watched, observed, and you don't have the space to be yourself and do what you like and maybe be a little clumsy and careless, what happens? What is your escape? If you can't physically escape, you will mentally escape. And this, the poet has shown so beautifully in this poem, where after Amanda gets a set of instructions from her parent, what happens? She goes into her own mind and starts thinking about a different world that she has created for herself. Okay? Jovita, if I'm not clear, try refreshing your page. Maybe it's a network issue on your end. Okay? So, what happens? Very beautifully, Amanda goes into her own mind and she says, I mean, the poet is saying there is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid drifting blissfully. So I'm sure all of you have a happy place in your mind whenever you're stressed, whenever you are in a bad situation in life. I'm sure you escape into your happy place, which is in your mind. Everybody has a different happy place and it could be very personal. You might want to share, you might not want to share, but that going there in your own imagination makes you feel at peace, makes you feel safe, makes you feel better. That's what's happening with Amanda as well. When she's being nagged, she goes into her happy place. And what is happening in a happy place? There's a languid emerald sea. So languid means relaxed. Okay, so emerald sea, where the sole inhabitant is me, Amanda is alone. A mermaid drifting blissfully. Now, a lot of literary devices have been used to express this beautiful emotion to us. Let's take a look at them. And the first thing that you might see on your screen over here, very scary sounding, anaphora. Okay, anaphora. So what is anaphora? Anaphora is nothing, it just means that the poet or anybody who's writing, they use the same word or the same phrase in the beginning of successive lines. So what happens? If I'm saying 4 lines to you, all those 4 lines are going to start with the same word, or 3 lines or 2 lines. So there needs to be a repetition in the beginning. Okay, so a repetition in the beginning of successive lines. That is what anaphora is. Aparna is saying repetition of words. That is correct. It is a repetition of words, but in the beginning. Okay, and of in successive lines. Okay. Alright, it could also be a phrase. Nikesh is saying start with the same word. It could also be a phrase. So here quickly we can see that these lines are starting with don't. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. So the don'ts build upon each other and they have an amplified impact that, you constantly keep telling me don't. Okay, so that is a use of anaphora. It can be used to emphasize, to amplify, and to create a rhythmic effect. Okay, lots of reasons why these literary devices are used. Over here, it is building up, correct? So that over there is anaphora. Great job, everybody who got it. Okay, now next thing we have is repetition. Okay, so I just said anaphora is repetition. Then what's the difference between anaphora and repetition? We will see. First, I will quickly answer. Ayush Kumar, meaning of don't hunch your shoulders. So if I'm standing in front of you like this, I'm hunching my shoulders. So I'm standing straight. And standing straight is good. We should all stand straight because having a proper posture is good for your health. It's good for your back. It's a good thing to do. But here, when you're constantly being nagged, if for 2 seconds you're doing this and someone's saying don't do that, then that can get a little irritating, right? Okay. So what is repetition? We'll go in order. A lot of you are giving me literary devices. You're able to spot them. That's great. But there might be some of us who are struggling with this. So let's go in order and we can tick mark everything we found. So we found anaphora. Now repetition. I said anaphora is a repetition. Then what is repetition? Repetition is repetition. You're repeating a word, you're repeating a phrase, but that can happen anywhere. So the only difference is anaphora has to happen in the beginning and a repetition can happen anywhere. So what is repeating over here? Very easy to spot. Very easy to spot. All of you come on quickly tell me. Amanda is repeating, correct? Here's Amanda, here's Amanda, here's Amanda. So don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. Correct? Very good. I see a lot of Amandas in the comments. So what is this repetition helping the poet achieve? That, all of these instructions are being targeted to this one poor person, Amanda. So constantly Amanda, 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 Amanda is happening, which is why Amanda escapes into this imaginary world of hers. Okay? Great. Good job, everyone. Repetition is done. Alliteration. So a lot of you have already spotted the alliteration. Alliteration is what? It's when we repeat the consonant sound. Okay? It's when we repeat the consonant sound. And where can you see that? You can see that right over here. Stop that slouching and sit up straight. You heard that? Stop. Slouching. Sit straight. Okay? So a lot of the S, what sound does S makes? So the sound is being repeated constantly. So here don't make the mistake of saying it's starting with the same letter. Sometimes letters make different sounds. Sometimes C also makes the S sound. Right? Similarly, G can make the G sound or the J sound. Okay? So try to spot the sound and not only the letter. So here alliteration, the sound is repeating. That's why. Stop that slouching and sit up straight is an alliteration and it's fun to say. So a lot of tongue twisters have alliterations because it's fun to say. So Betty had some butter but the butter was bitter, so Betty got some better butter to make the bitter butter better. So a lot of burr sound is being repeated. So yeah, you all can try saying that. I can't hear you unfortunately, otherwise we could have had a competition. But yeah, so that is alliteration. Okay? All right. So consonants and alliteration, the differences are the consonant, the sound can come in the middle of the words also. So here in alliteration, we saw that the sound is coming in the beginning of the words. Stop, slouching, sit, straight. All of these words are starting with S. But in consonants, the sound that is repeating can come in the middle of the word also. Okay? All right. Now, let's move on to metaphor. So what is metaphor? A metaphor is a comparison, okay? And what are we comparing? We are comparing the characteristics of two different things. And this comparison can be between two very different and unlike things, okay? So, for example, I can say something to you, I can say something like, you have so much knowledge, so your mind is an ocean. When I say that, I am saying your mind is an ocean. So your mind literally cannot be an ocean, but what am I comparing? I'm comparing the vastness of knowledge, the vastness of the mind with the vastness of the ocean. Okay, so there will always be a characteristic that you're comparing between two things. When you look at a metaphor, it might seem very unlikely, but there is one quality in both those things, that is perhaps similar. That is where a metaphor comes in. So it is a very indirect comparison. It won't be very obvious, it won't be very apparent, it is very indirect. So when a comparison is very direct, it's very obvious, we are saying this is like this thing, X is like Y, that is a simile, and we will see examples of similes also. So like we know, metaphor does not use the words like or as, whereas a simile uses the words like and as. Okay, Saras, I've already answered your question before you asked me the question, because this is a very common question. Okay, that is the difference. We will see the difference with examples. If you know any other nice metaphors, you can give them to me also. And over here, what do we see? We see something called emerald sea. Now what is emerald? Emerald is a precious stone. So we are saying the sea is a precious stone. No. What are we saying? We are saying that the shine and color of an emerald is like the shine and color of the sea. Okay, so the sea is being compared to the precious stone because both have a characteristic shine and color. Okay. So Abharna is asking me, Amanda, is mermaid a metaphor? Now that is, so sometimes you will see, you will get confused and you will think that, you know, is this literary device or is this that literary device? And that can happen to you with metaphors and personification, you can get confused. And so similarly, you are asking me if Amanda is a mermaid is a metaphor. Now it's not explicitly stated here, okay, that it's not saying Amanda is a mermaid. So you have put that in quotes. You cannot put that in quotes because that is nowhere written in the poem. But we are drawing a comparison between Amanda and a mermaid. So yes, you can say that's a metaphor. But what is mermaid? Some of you might know, some of you might not know. Okay, mermaid is a mythical creature that is half woman, half fish. Okay, and mermaids appear in a lot of folk stories. So every time you are talking about something that has appeared in, you know, books, that are characters that have appeared in movies, in books, in other poetry, or in folklore, or in mythology, and when you refer to them, what do you call it? You call it allusion. So a lot of times we say we are alluding to this. Okay, we are alluding to this. That means you are referring to something that already exists. It could be a character. Charvi says Ariel, the Little Mermaid. That is correct if you've seen the movie, if you know about Ariel. Papiya said Jalpari. Yes, that's what we call a mermaid in Hindi. Yeah, so half girl, half fish, mermaid. Okay, so when we talk about a character that has existed in other works, be it books, stories, movies, anything, we call it an allusion. Okay, so mermaid here is an allusion. It's more fitted to be an allusion. Okay, Praga, yes, in Hindi you can say Jalpari, but in your exam you can't write in Hindi, you have to write in English, so be careful about that. Okay, and what are we left with? So we've gotten emerald sea, we've gotten metaphor also. Okay, so what are we left with? We are left with only one thing, that is imagery. So when I read this out, I just want you to maybe close your eyes if you can do it for me. Close your eyes and I'll read this out and just listen to what I'm saying. There is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid, drifting blissfully. Now you can open your eyes if you close them. If you didn't, then very bad. But it's okay. So if you close your eyes, you could imagine exactly what I'm reading out to you, right? And so the poet, through their words, painted sort of a picture for you. Okay, the words are so descriptive that you could imagine the scene going on in front of you. That is imagery. Okay, when you use a lot of descriptive words to create a scene, that is imagery. So over here, all of this you could imagine, so imagery has also been used. Okay. Ananya is asking me, where is allusion? Allusion is mermaid. We are alluding to a mythical creature that has existed in folk tales, in stories, in movies for a long time. And so we are alluding to that particular character, so we are calling this allusion. Alluding means we are referring to that character, okay? Alright? Okay, I'll explain. So, if I want to say that, there is this something in front of me, for example, there's this pen in front of me, I want it to fly in the air. Okay, so I'll make a joke. I'll say, why don't I do this? I do swish and flick Wingardium Leviosa. Okay, now some of you understand what I'm saying. Some of you will understand what I'm saying. Some of you will not understand. Who will understand what I'm saying? People who have seen or read Harry Potter. Correct? That if I'm trying to make this fly, I'm saying Wingardium Leviosa. Okay, that is an allusion to Harry Potter. So, those of you who have seen or read Harry Potter understand that I'm making a reference to Harry Potter. Those of you who have not seen it, you will get confused. You'll say, what am I talking about? Okay, so this is a spell that is used in Harry Potter to make things fly. Okay, so that is an allusion when I refer to something. Okay. So, because we are referring to a creature that has existed in other works, we are calling mermaid an allusion. Okay? Clear? Okay, now we'll move on a little faster. We have more to cover and we have Menti also. So, stop throwing charms at me. I see Expecto Patronum also coming. Okay, now let's move on. Let's get back to Amanda. So, here we have, did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. Then Amanda says in her head, I am an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden. The freedom is sweet. Okay. So here, what do we have? We again have anaphora where did you, repeating in the beginning, anaphora done. Okay, we have repetition again, same Amanda, 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 repeating. So repetition done. Imagery, again when Amanda goes into her imagination, you can imagine all of this. I'm an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. So you can imagine I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. So that is imagery. Then we have metaphor. We are making comparisons where the silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. Does silence, can you see silence? Does silence have a color? No, correct? So here saying that the silence is golden. Golden is what? Golden is a glorious color. What is the characteristic of golden? That it is very glorious. Okay? So she's saying the silence is glorious and just like the color, golden is glorious. So this comparison becomes a metaphor. And freedom is sweet. Can you taste freedom? You cannot taste freedom, right? But we usually say that, the taste of freedom. Okay, that is also a metaphor. Freedom being sweet is a metaphor. We are comparing something that tastes sweet with how freedom feels. It feels sweet, okay? So these are metaphors, correct? All right. Yes, so I read somewhere your is repeating. Is that repetition? Sure, that is repetition, but it should have a literary effect. So if I'm putting a literary device, it should do something, right? So Amanda repeating makes an impact. Did you repeating in the beginning of the sentences make an impact. So it should make an impact. Then it becomes a literary device, okay? All right. And I saw someone said that silence is precious. Golden can also mean precious. Gold is precious. So silence being precious, that is also a characteristic you can compare. Great. So that's a very good interpretation. Well done. I'm sorry I missed the name of who said that, but well done. Okay, now here we have. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? Amanda says, I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. Okay? All right, so here, let's get rid of what we already know. We know this repetition is happening, Amanda, Amanda, Amanda. So that is done. Now here a very nice allusion is happening. We are alluding to a folk tale called Rapunzel. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you have read it. If you've not, I'm sure some of you have seen the movie Tangled. Okay, that also uses the theme of Rapunzel. So Rapunzel was a girl with very, very long golden hair, and she was trapped in a tower. A witch kept her in a tower, so every time the witch wanted to climb up, the witch would ask Rapunzel to put down her hair from the window. She would put down her hair, the witch would climb up using the hair, and just like that, a prince also started climbing up Rapunzel's hair, and the prince and Rapunzel fell in love. So that is the story of Rapunzel. And here, what is Amanda saying? I am Rapunzel, I have not a care, life in a tower is tranquil and rest. So she's saying, I also want to live alone in a tower where no one is there to bother me. But the difference is, Rapunzel put her hair down for people to come. I won't even do that. Okay, so I won't put my hair down, so nobody can come and bother me. Okay, so that is an allusion over here to Rapunzel. Great. And then we have, stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You're always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. So, after all of this that the parent or whoever is telling Amanda, after they said so many things to her, she probably felt a bit irritated or sad, so she made a face. And now they're saying, why are you always so moody? Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. Okay, and this is how it ends. So here, what can we see? Can we see the repetition again, Amanda? So that happens throughout the poem. Very easy to spot. And here we have an alliteration. Can anyone spot the alliteration? It's very easy. And it's right there. It's the same sound. Yeah, Sukhjot got it. So Sukhjot can also be a part of that alliteration because your name also starts with the sound. So stop that sulking, right? And so Charvi spotted another literary device in the previous stanza. Great, Charvi. So there might be more. Okay, we are pointing out the more obvious ones. There might be more. If you're able to spot them, very good. That's great. Once you understand the concept of each, you will be able to do that. So good job. Okay, we're done with Amanda. Let's move on to animals. And this is what I was talking about. One of my favorite poets is Walt Whitman. So this poem is by Walt Whitman. And let's see, what is the central idea of this poem? It's talking about how animals behave or animals are versus how humans are, okay? And the poet is talking about how he relates more to how animals are and he respects how animals are more than how humans are, okay? So there is a comparison and clearly the poet thinks that animals are better, okay? Alright, so let's see. Here we have, I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long, okay? So here, anaphora, you already know what that is, so I want you to point it out for me quickly. It's a very simple one. Both these lines are starting with I, so that is our anaphora, okay? And what is the repetition? Here, the repetition is not in different lines, it's in the same lines, okay? Aryan, you give me a correct answer and if you think I'm ignoring you, I will stop ignoring you, but you need to give me a correct answer. Okay, what is the repetition over here? Long and long, Charvi, Fennel, well done. And Muhammad wrote it as long. Great, so here it's repeating in the same line, okay? That can also happen. So this is a different kind of repetition from the previous poem, okay? Great job. So what does placid mean? Placid and self-contained, it means they don't react easily, they don't get upset easily. Placid means not getting bothered too easily, not getting upset easily, okay? And self-contained means happy in themselves, don't need many things, don't need other things, okay, to be happy. Alright, next. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Okay? All right, so here a lot of you have already pointed out the anaphora. They do, you've pointed out they do not. Yes, correct. They do not, they do not, they do not. Very obvious. Anaphora is the easiest to spot. So it sounds scary, but it's the easiest to spot. And here now you can spot a lot of different metaphors actually over here. And you could have spotted a metaphor in the previous stanza also. Okay. So you're saying sweat and wine is a metaphor. Now here what are we doing? We're comparing animals and humans. Okay. And Charvi is saying mania of owning things. Great. So first we have drawn a comparison between animals and humans. So we're giving a lot of human-like qualities to the animals, which can also pass off as personification when you give human-like qualities to something that is not human. So here what are we doing? We are comparing what humans do versus what animals do. Okay, and like Charvi pointed out, there's a line here, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. So being demented or having mania, these things were attributed to what? To mental illnesses, you know, when people used to go crazy in the past, mania, such words were used for them. Over here, we are calling owning things. So what is this want? Materialism, we call it materialism. So this materialistic tendency of human beings, we are calling it a sort of mania. Okay, so Sukhjot has nicely pointed out, metaphorically compares possessive nature to a kind of mania. Correct. So when you want everything, you are very possessive. Mania means madness, as Aparna has pointed out. So we are comparing the two characteristics of going crazy, just wanting to accumulate things and actually losing your mind. Okay, so this is a metaphor. Okay. All right, and what is the poet trying to convey here? Poet is trying to convey that animals are not so worldly, they are not bothered, you know, like human beings, trying to show off, trying to accumulate things, trying to one-up each other, trying to always, you know, show other people that they are better than them. You know, this constant competition and being sanctimonious, which means saying that I'm better than you or I'm holier than you. So all these tendencies animals don't have, which human beings have. And the poet thinks that these tendencies in human beings are repulsive. Okay. And so animals also don't lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They don't go crazy out of guilt and all of these things. The poet thinks is something we can sort of get inspired by in animals. Okay. Now here, not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. Okay, here anaphora, I am sure all of you have gotten it. Great, good job. Not one is being repeated. And then here we have more metaphors. Okay, now here the most striking metaphor that we can see is in this line. They bring me tokens of myself. What is a token? Okay, sometimes you stand in a line somewhere and you know there's a queue and you're waiting to collect something, they'll give you a token. Here's your token, please wait. Okay, or sometimes what in a different context, if you do something very nice, okay, for me, and I bring you a gift and I say, you know, please accept my gift, it's a token of my appreciation. So token has two meanings. Usually it can be a physical token, okay, which is given to you and it holds a specific meaning, okay, or it can be something else that's a representation of something that I feel. So if I feel appreciation for you and I give you a gift, I say the gift is a token of my appreciation. Over here, the poet is saying that these tokens of myself, what are they? They are virtues, correct? Good job, Aparna. Virtues or qualities, okay? Tokens here are qualities. So the poet is saying that these tokens of myself are no longer with me. Now I see them in animals, correct? So everything that we had read in the previous stanza about animals not whining and weeping and animals, you know, being placid and self-contained, all of these were qualities that I once had, that humans once had, that we can now see in animals. So they bring me tokens of myself. So tokens here is being compared with qualities. Okay, so this is a metaphor. Okay, all right. And how does the poem end? It ends with a rhetorical question. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently dropped them? It ends with a rhetorical question. Okay, so the poet is not expecting you to answer this question. It's just a question that is making a point. And what is that point? That human beings over time have downgraded in their qualities and animals have risen up. Okay, so maybe all those tokens, those qualities that I had, I dropped them a while ago and the animals found them, the animals picked them up and have become better than human beings. Okay, all right. So Janvi, the Mehndi is after this session and it's to do with this session. So if you pay attention, you'll do much better. Okay, all right, and we've come to our last poem. Okay, this is The Tale of Custer the Dragon. Very entertaining, very fun to read and very meaningful also. So great poem. And Ayush is asking me a question, explain this line, they do. So here is the line that you're talking about. There we go. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. So in the context of this poem, the poet is saying that humans do so many things that I don't like and I don't respect. They sweat and whine, they constantly complain about things, they constantly feel guilty about their actions, they overthink, and so at that time there was a huge religious revival and everybody kept saying that the most noblest and the most virtuous people were the ones who did their duty to God. And everybody tried to push their doctrine on others. Okay, what that means is that if I think something is correct, I will force you to feel the same way. And if someone else thinks something is correct, they will force everyone to feel the same way, which is not necessarily true. All of us are different human beings and all of us can connect to different things or be spiritual in different ways. So that time, in the poet's time, there was a lot of, that this XYZ habits or XYZ actions are considered good and something that God appreciates, and such other things are considered immoral. So what the poet is trying to express is that he felt sick or nauseated, or what that means is if something is very, very repulsive to me, I can say that it makes me sick. So these things are making me sick. What human beings constantly trying to show other people that they are more virtuous or they are doing their duty to God better than others. That's what this line means. Okay? All right. So here we're back to The Tale of Custer the Dragon. The central idea is appearance versus reality. So what you see is not always what it seems. Okay? And so you should not underestimate other people or yourself for that matter. Okay? Let's see. All right. Okay, there we go. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon and a realio trulio little pet dragon. Now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little grey mouse, she called him Blink, and the little yellow dog was as sharp as mustard, but the dragon was a coward and she called him Custard. Okay, now this poem is what? It's a ballad. We discussed this last time as well. What is a ballad? It's a song or a poetry, okay, that stanza by stanza tells us a story. Okay, so here we have a lot of literary devices that have been put into play and you can hear that. So when I read the poem out for you, it sounded really nice to you and you could imagine, visualize a lot of things, and the rhythm was really nice. So that means a lot of literary devices are at play over here. So let's try spotting some of them. So repetition, a lot of you are already telling me that repetition is little, and yes, you see little everywhere throughout the poem. So it's sprinkled throughout the poem over here, so many littles, okay, and that indeed is repetition. Good job. Okay, Abanna wants to know the rhyming scheme. Very easy. Why don't you tell me what the rhyming scheme is for this poem? House rhymes with mouse, wagon rhymes with dragon, so we can call it AABB rhyming scheme, correct? Okay, good, great job. Now the word oxymoron has finally come. I had mentioned this in the beginning of the session. What is an oxymoron? Sounds very fancy. It's nothing. It's when two opposite things are said together to express something, okay? That is an oxymoron, okay? So when you use two opposite words, two words very unlike each other together, it becomes an oxymoron. And literature is full of beautiful oxymorons. If you've all heard of Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, there's a very famous line in it that says, good night, parting is such sweet sorrow. Okay, so the words sweet and sorrow. So here Juliet is saying parting, going away from you, saying good night to you is such sweet sorrow. So it's both sweet because she's talking to someone she loves, but it's a sorrow because they have to say bye to each other, correct? So sweet sorrow is an oxymoron. Similarly, there are many oxymorons that are constantly used. If I tell you, if it gets too quiet sometimes, you know, it starts getting irritating that why is it so quiet? You can say this, such deafening silence. Okay, such deafening silence. Now for something to be deafening, it has to be loud, right? That's how it will make you deaf. But you can call silence deafening when it gets too heavy for you to bear. So oxymoron is used to express emotions that are really not black and white, okay? That are complicated, that are grey emotions, which is generally how we feel about things. So over here, the oxymoron is not so deep. It's a rather simple oxymoron, a pet dragon. And the meaning of the word pet itself is opposite of wild. And here we have the wildest of the animals you can imagine, a mythical creature, in fact, a dragon. Keeping a dragon as a pet is an oxymoron, okay? So there we have pet dragon, okay? Why not red wagon? Why can't a wagon be red? A wagon can be of any color. Just paint it to whatever color you like, okay? It can be a yellow, orange wagon, black wagon, okay? All right, now next, anaphora. Can you spot the anaphora? Very easy. Here we have, yeah, now Sneha, you're saying and, but if another word is also being repeated, you can also call that. So over here, and a is being repeated. Here, and the little is being repeated. So it's just not and. It just doesn't have to be one word, okay? It can be a phrase also. So whatever is being repeated can be anaphora, okay? All right, that's also done, and we've come to poetic license. So what is poetic license? What is a license? A license allows you to do something. If you have a driving license, that means you're allowed to drive, okay? All right, so poetic license is something that poets have. Now you don't need an actual physical license for it, and the government doesn't sanction these. It's just something that poets can do, and it's a common practice where you can maybe twist some words or break some rules. So here you can break the rules of spelling, you can break the rules of grammar for your poem to sound better or to be more impactful, okay? And over here, as correctly pointed out, realio, trulio, these are not real words, okay? But you can read them and see that they probably mean really and truly. But we are talking about such a, you know, fantasy like situation where, you know, you're imagining a girl with all these pets and a dragon, and it seems like such a fantastical world. So the poet, instead of saying and really truly a little pet dragon, to make it more fantastical, the poet has said realio, trulio. Okay, just like the Harry Potter spells that we were discussing, they're all taken from Latin words or English words, and they've been, you know, changed a little bit to make them sound more poetic, more grand, more fantastical, okay? That is poetic license. So here, realio, trulio, we can tell means really and truly, but we've changed the spelling and made it sound more fancy. That is poetic license. Great. And then we have simile, and we had spoken about this when we were talking about metaphors. So just like a metaphor, simile is also it's also a comparison, correct? Okay, but here the comparison is very obvious, it's very direct. You know, you're clearly stating that you are like this, or you are X is like Y, or X is as something as Y, okay? So the use of the words like and as come into play in similes. So that's the difference between a metaphor and a simile. They're both comparisons, but metaphor you have to really kind of rack your brains to spot it. Okay, is this a metaphor? Oh yeah, this is a metaphor. So it's not obvious. Simile, very obvious, very easy to spot. Okay, so here, where is our simile? And the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard. Okay, so we are comparing the dog to mustard, and that's why the dog's name is also mustard. Okay, so if you have tasted mustard, you know, it has a very pungent sort of a taste. Some people really don't like it, some people love it. It kind of stings a little bit. Okay, so it has an edgy taste, and that quality of mustard is what the poet is comparing the dog to. So we can say it has a sharp taste. Some cheeses have a very sharp taste. They suddenly hit you when you taste them. Okay, so that's what the poet is comparing the dog to. The personality or the behavior of the dog was also very sharp, just like mustard. And here we can see the word as. Okay, and so that makes it very easy for us to spot that it's a simile. Okay. And next in our list, what are we? I know you all are seeing more things also, different things also, that's great. But over here in our list, we also have alliteration. So let's quickly look at that. And where is our alliteration? If you can all point it out for me quickly. It's very nice. Coward called custard. The k sound. Okay. So it's not exactly the repetition of the letter C, Sukhjot. It's the sound that C is making. That is being repeated. Alright. So everybody asking for Menti, you'll have Menti. We'll be done with this in the next 5 minutes, and then we have Menti only. And this will help you if you want to do well in Menti. Okay. So alliteration is clear. Everything is done, and let's move on. So Custer the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath, mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and realio trulio daggers on his toes. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears, and Ink and Blink chased lions down the stairs. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Okay, so here I can see the word like, the first thing I saw, so that makes it very obvious that mouth like a fireplace is a simile. Okay, it's a very direct comparison. Dragons breathe fire, correct? So the mouth of the dragon is like a fireplace. Okay, easy. And then we have chimney for a nose. So in the same sentence, we make a very direct comparison. We say your mouth is like a fireplace. Then we say chimney for a nose. Now the dragon doesn't really actually have a literal chimney as a nose. Okay, but we are comparing the characteristics. So what is the point of a chimney? A chimney is above a fireplace, okay, and it takes all the smoke up. So similarly, nose is right above the mouth, and when the dragon breathes fire, The nose will take all the smoke up. So we can say chimney for a nose is a metaphor. Why it's not a simile is because we are not making a direct comparison. We are saying you have a chimney for a nose. But we know logically that cannot be true. The dragon cannot have an actual chimney for a nose. So this becomes a metaphor. And easiest way to remember, there is no like, there is no as. So it's a metaphor. Mouth like a fireplace has a like. So it's a simile. Alright? Simple? Okay? And then we also have more similes. Here we say Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. So we are saying Belinda's bravery can be compared to that of a barrel full of bears. So many bears. Okay? And so here we are using the word as. It's a very direct comparison. So Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears is a simile. Similarly, Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage. So we're saying Mustard the dog was as brave as an angry tiger. So here also we have the word as. So this also is a simile. Okay? Very easy to spot similes, no problems there. Chimney for a nose we've already seen is our metaphor. Okay? And we also have alliteration over here. And it's in one of the same sentences that was also simile. Easy to spot. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. When you say it, you can feel the alliteration. Burr, 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 burr. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. It's fun to say. You should try saying it. So, there we have alliteration as well. Okay? Great. And the meaning of all of this is clear to you. If you get stuck in the meaning somewhere, just let me know. I'll explain. It's a rather easy poem to follow, so no problem there. Okay? Alright, refrain is also used. What is the refrain? Great, so someone pointed it out. It's a repetition of, so refrain, we have the repetition of the entire paragraph also in the end of the poem. So refrain is there throughout the poem. For all of you that pointed it out. Okay? So Nikhil, what is a chimney? If you've seen a houses with fireplace, you might see on top they have something like this where smoke is coming out. This is a chimney. Okay, and so what is the point of a chimney? To take the smoke away. So similarly, the nose is right above the mouth. Dragon is breathing fire, smoke is coming, going up the nose. So nose is like a chimney. But here we're saying chimney for a nose. There's no like or as, so it's a metaphor. Alright, quickly moving on. Belinda tickled him, she tickled him unmerciful. Ink, Blink and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. They all sat laughing in the little red wagon at the Realio Trulio cowardly dragon. Belinda giggled till she shook the house, and Blink said "Week," which is giggling for a mouse. Ink and Mustard rudely asked his age, when Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Okay, so here we have repetition again. Okay, where is it? Can you all point it out quickly for me now? You should know. Sukhjot, yes, there is refrain. So the Realio Trulio sentence is being repeated, and later on we'll see that the entire paragraph is also being repeated at the end. Okay? And so is this line. No one noticed? Custard cried for a nice safe cage. This is also being constantly repeated at many parts of the poem. Okay? So, what else? Alright, that's about it. I think tickled is there. Keshvi is saying, good job. I was waiting for someone to point this out. Like I said, you don't look for repetition only in different lines. They can be in the same line as well. So Belinda tickled him. She tickled him unmerciful. So here, tickled is becoming amplified because of the repetition, that Belinda tickled him a lot. Okay, so tickled him is the repetition. There we go, good job. Then we have allusion, again allusion to Percival. So Percival is the name of a person. Okay, and this Percival was one of the knights of King Arthur. Who was King Arthur? There's a legend of King Arthur. Okay, so these are stories. So a lot of stories have a character called King Arthur. These stories are from Britain. So King Arthur was a British character, and a lot of stories were written about him back in the medieval era. And all of this is being carried on, and still today people read about the legend of King Arthur. So Percival is a character in King Arthur, okay, and he was a very innocent character, which is why the poet is comparing Custard, saying that they rudely called him Percival, saying that, very innocent and simple-minded, okay. That's why this is an allusion, okay, because only if you know about this character, if you've read about King Arthur's legend, you will know what the poet is talking about. So that makes it an allusion. Great. And then we have something very scary sounding. It's called onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, what does that mean? That means when we have words for sounds. So when we say knock, knock, it sounds like someone knocking. So it's an onomatopoeia. Okay? So here, weak is the sound that the poet thinks a mouse makes when it laughs. So Blink says weak when it giggles, okay? Probably something like weak and not weak, but this is the sound that the poet has given us. We can imagine it however we want to, and that is onomatopoeia. Okay, great. Next. Suddenly, they heard a nasty sound, and Mustard growled, and they all looked around. Meouch! Cried Ink, and ooh! Cried Belinda, for there was a pirate climbing in the window. Pistol in his left hand, pistol in his right, and he held in his teeth a cutlass bright. His beard was black, one leg was wood. It was clear that the pirate meant no good. Okay? So here, lots of words that you might not know. Here, cutlass is nothing but a sword that pirates used to carry. Okay? So, what all can we find? Onomatopoeia. Very obvious, meouch. It's something like meow plus ouch. So when a cat gets hurt, it'll probably say meouch. Okay? So this is onomatopoeia. Great. So wherever you see a sound being mimicked, it's onomatopoeia. Okay? Poetic license, again, what I said, some rules were broken. What? Window was spelled as winda. Okay? So Ashutosh is saying British window is winda. Maybe in some accents it can be pronounced like that, but it is always spelled window. Here the poet only changed it so that it rhymes with Belinda, and it's also fun to say Belinda, winda. Correct? So that's poetic license. Okay. Alliteration again. Who will point it out for me? You've already pointed out the onomatopoeia and poetic license. So here it's not long like we saw in Amanda, but little things we can see. Beard was black, okay. He held in his, so the h sound is being repeated, the b sound is being repeated. We can say that's alliteration. Great. All right, and then we have imagery. So here, this entire paragraph, you could really imagine what the pirate looks like. So if I ask you to draw this, you probably would do a very good job because it's so descriptive. Pistol in the left hand, pistol in the right, holding a sword in his teeth, beard was black, one leg was wood. So using very descriptive words. So this is imagery. All right. Belinda paled and she cried, help, help, but Mustard fled with a terrified yelp. Ink trickled down to the bottom of the household, and Little Mouse blinked strategically mousehold. But up jumped Custard, snorting like an engine, clashed his tail like irons in a dungeon. With a clatter and a clank and a jangling squirm, he went at the pirate like a robin at a worm. Okay? So here, very small, I hope you can see, transferred epithet. So I'm sure the repetition, poetic license, simile, or imagery and onomatopoeia you can point out over here, okay. So won't go into detail for that, but transferred epithet. Let me quickly explain. What is an epithet? An epithet is an adjective or a phrase that gives you the characteristic of one thing. So that's one word that can describe something really, really well in a very characteristic way. Okay, so here what happens in a transferred epithet is the adjective that was meant to describe something else gets transferred to another noun. Okay, so over here you see transferred yelp. What does that mean? Now, transferred yelp, I'm saying terrified yelp. What does that mean? Terrified. So here, who is terrified? Mustard is terrified. So the adjective terrified should apply to mustard. But instead, we are saying that the yelp or the scream that mustard is letting out, that is terrified. Now, the scream cannot actually be scared or terrified. It is mustard who is terrified. But we have just transferred the adjective terrified from mustard to mustard's scream. Yelp means a short scream. Okay. So this is an example of transferred epithet. Okay. Alright, and everything else is quite straightforward. So I will just point it out for you. Help, help is repetition over here. Okay. Now poetic license comes in at this point. Mousehold is not a word. Mousehole without the D is a word. Okay. So mousehole is where the mouse goes inside. If you've seen Tom and Jerry, where Jerry goes and hides, that's a mousehole. But the poet has turned the word mousehole, which is a noun, okay, into a verb, saying that that Blink strategically mousehold, which we can assume means Blink hid inside his mousehole. Okay. We'll have Menti right after this session. Don't worry, guys. Even if it stretches a little bit, no problem. We'll have it after this. No worries there. Okay. All right. So mousehold is not a word. Poet has made it into a word so that it rhymes with household, and we can also assume what the poet is trying to say is that Blink hid inside his mousehole, so he got mousehold. Okay. That is our poetic license over here. Okay, and then we have similes everywhere where we're talking about custard. But up jumped custard snorting like an engine. The word like is over there, so direct comparison between custard snorting and an engine. Clashed his tail like irons in a dungeon. Again the word like is there, very obvious simile. And in the next line we have a lot of onomatopoeia. What do we have? We have clatter and clank and jangling. These words sound like the sound that is made, correct? Clatter, clank, jangling. Okay, so these are onomatopoeias, and all of this is very nice imagery. You can imagine how Custard attacked the pirate, correct? And we have another simile over here in the last line. He went at the pirate like a robin at a worm. Robin is a bird, so the way a bird would go at a worm is how Custard attacked the pirate. Okay, correct. So that is imagery. You can imagine all of this. Usage of very descriptive words, imagery. Okay. The pirate gaped at Belinda's dragon and gulped some grog from his pocket flagon. He fired 2 bullets, but they didn't hit, and Custard gobbled him every bit. Belinda embraced him, Mustard licked him. No one mourned for his pirate victim. Ink and Blink in glee did gyrate around the dragon that ate the pirate. Okay, so here grog is drink. Okay, pocket flagon. Flagon is just the container in which the drink is stored. Okay, gyrate means moving in circles. Okay, these are the difficult words and we've gotten them out of the way. So here alliteration. Where do we have alliteration? Quickly everybody. Very obvious. The g sound, gulp some grog. There we go. So good job. Gulp some grog. We have alliteration over here, and imagery. Again, everybody's reactions and actions, especially see gyrate. The word gyrate is also used, so we can imagine them moving in circles. Okay, so It's creating an image in our brains, so imagery is used over here. That brings us to the end. But presently up spoke little dog Mustard. I'd have been twice as brave if I hadn't been flustered. And up spoke Ink and up spoke Blink. We'd have been 3 times as brave, we think. And Custard said, I quite agree that everybody is braver than me. Belinda still lives in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse, and her little yellow dog and a little red wagon and a Realio Trulio little pet dragon. Belinda is as brave as a barrel full of bears, and Ink and Blink chase lions down the stairs. Mustard is as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard keeps crying for a nice safe cage. So as all of you pointed out, refrain is also happening. Okay? Stanzas are being repeated, sentences are being repeated, and word repetition is also happening, as you can see since I have it on screen. Okay, and stanza repetition is happening, which we can also call sentences that are being repeated, the Realio Trulio. We can also call that refrain, like a lot of you pointed out. Okay, Nikhil, grog is drink. Okay. So, and that brings us to the end. I hope you've all understood the poem, because the poem is quite beautiful. And even in the end, after everybody witnessed how Custard saved them, they still wouldn't let go of, you know, the attitude that they had towards Custard. They still said that, you know, we are braver than you, and Custard is humble enough to agree. But everybody knows what the truth is, that Custard is the one who saved them. Okay, so I hope everything is clear and we're done. So let's quickly move on to, okay, this is just what's coming up for you. 1st February is your grammar refresher session, and now this is where you ought to be. Okay, so quickly, great. So I see a lot of you joining. Come on, quickly, everyone join. You were already very excited for the session. I know the poems went on for a little bit longer than expected, but it's going to help you. So for those of you who haven't joined yet, you can see the code on top. Oh, and we couldn't come up with a name, so maybe, okay, I'll just come up with a title for whoever wins this mentee. All right, nice, quickly. 72 of you are here. Come on. So it's impossible for me to remember who's who. I've read all of you telling me that you're this and that, but there are so many of you that it's impossible for me to keep that in mind, but that's okay. As long as you all have joined, we have 90 of us. Okay, I'll give a countdown of 5 seconds and then we'll start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. People are still joining in, and now I'll start. Or should I wait till 100? Okay, I'll wait. All right, I'm going to begin now. Are you all ready? Regardless of who you are in your avatar, I hope you're ready. And there we go. Whose expectations burden Amanda? Oh. I think it's the same as all of you, since all of you could relate to Amanda. Don't give answers in the chat. Others will cheat then. And we have it. Great. So a lot of you got the answer right. Good. That means you paid attention. So what is it? Societal and parental expectations burden Amanda and a lot of you as well. Okay. All right. Great. Let's move on. Good job. Stellar start. And identify the incorrect statement. I helped you out there. I shouldn't have. I should stay quiet. Amanda imagines herself to be free from all expectations. Amanda imagines herself to be a dutiful daughter. Okay. These were the little paragraphs. Oh, the time got up very quickly. Wow. I helped you all and still so many of you got the wrong answer. How come? Amanda imagines herself to be a dutiful daughter. Does she imagine that? No, she doesn't. She imagines herself to be free of expectations. That's why she's floating like a mermaid in the Emerald Sea. So, you were supposed to select the option that is incorrect. Anyway, please pay attention to the question. And there we are. Okay. Blank is a literary device that features the repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of successive sentences. I've said this word so many times today that it's going to haunt, it's going to come in your dreams, me saying this word. That's how many times I've said this word. 10 seconds left. And yay! 77 of you gave the correct answer. Thank goodness. So you did hear me talking about anaphora so much. Anaphora is the correct answer. Here's an example for you. Don't bite your nails. Amanda, don't hunch your shoulders. Amanda, don't is the word that's being repeated. Great. All right. I still don't have a title for all of you. I'll think about it. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. We talked about this. Should be easy unless you were busy chatting with your friends instead of paying attention to the session. Ah, I see. Yashart. Okay. So I know one of the 16 people who said allusion is Yashart, but rest of you all said metaphor, so good job. It's a metaphor. You're comparing the sweetness to how freedom feels and the gloriousness of golden to the gloriousness of silence. Okay? Metaphor. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I explained the meaning of this word. I should not have done that. Then we could have seen if you got it in the quiz. And then I could have explained it now. No, but it's about whether or not you paid attention to me. So let's see if you get it. And the answer is great. So majority of you got it. Answer is not easily upset. Okay? Great. Here's the leaderboard, but this is not the final leaderboard, so oh, interesting. So Ananya is the fastest. Hari Murali is also very close. Okay, and Charvi is also close. Okay, let's see. Let's see the rest of you get up there. They bring me tokens of myself, they evince them plainly in their possession. What do tokens refer to? Oh, we talked about this. This is so easy. Very easy. So, I think you should post the wrong answers on the chat so that everyone who's cheating don't make it to the leaderboard. So to throw other people off, you should post the wrong answers on the chat. And yay! Majority of you got it right. Qualities. Tokens refers to qualities. Great. Okay. Now we're getting close to the end. So buckle up, answer fast. Which of the following would be an incorrect conclusion about the tale of Custard the Dragon? For all those of you who don't read the question properly, incorrect conclusion. All right. 10 seconds to go. And I've decided on a name also. Oh, so it's, there we go. Yes, majority of you got it right. And love at others' follies is not a correct conclusion, okay? All right, good job. Let's see, question 8. So we have 3 more questions to go. And Blink said weak, which is giggling for a mouse. Which literary device? So easy. So easy. Come on. I want 0 of you to get this wrong. I want all of you to get this right. Very easy. Three, two, one, and okay. Some of you, okay, I'm going to assume that you pressed the wrong option accidentally because this was very easy. It's onomatopoeia, okay? All right. And whoever wins now, because we are the 9th question, are going to be called Custard of term 2. Which of the following adjectives correctly describes Custard the dragon? So we're going to call him Custard the poetic dragon. Here the question is correctly describes. So courageous, cruel, modest, shy. There we go. 56 of you said courageous. And that does correctly describe Custard, okay? And one of you is going to become the poetic Custard, the poetic dragon, okay? By the end of the poem, we realize that Custard was in fact a courageous dragon, okay? So, question 10 of 10. After this, we are going to see who the dragon is going to be. And Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. What literary device is this? Very easy. This rule should be embedded in your brains by now. There we go. It's a simile because we use as. So a direct comparison using like and as is a simile. And the dragon. Do you want to see who the dragon is? The dragon is okay. Oh, wow. Ananya! Yay! Claps for you. And Ananya is our dragon. So we're all going to call her the dragon till the next Menti, where we'll have a new title for whoever wins. Okay, but all of you, good job! Looks like you paid attention except for that one question where majority of you got it wrong. But no worries there. I had such a great time with you today. Okay, and whatever you got wrong, no worries, as long as you know why you made a mistake, nothing to worry about. So Ananya the dragon, great job, and see you next time. Have lots of fun, stay safe, and happy Republic Day in advance.